Hello and welcome, everybody. It is 8 o'clock. It's Thursday night. That means it's time for another episode of the Get Off My Lawn podcast. My name is John. I will be your host tonight, as always. We've got a fun night. Well, I don't know how fun. We've got a fun guest, but we've got a serious topic. That's what's going on tonight. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a couple things that I want to get to real quick, and then we will get rolling here. So first and foremost, if you're out there and you're watching us live, then we want to know about it. So get those comments out there. And I'm really curious to find out if anybody is watching us yet on Facebook. So it's not going. Okay. Well, that's what I needed to know then. So this is not going on Facebook. We're going to get there and talk about that here in a little bit after we go through things with our guest tonight. So stay tuned for that later on, and we'll talk about that again. Real quick here, I do want to mention, as always, we are a very proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out this podcast in audio form and a whole bunch of other great podcasts that are geared around firearms, freedom, the Second Amendment, and all kinds of cool topics. So go check out Self-Defense Radio Network, SDRN.us. And if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook after the fact, since we're not live on Facebook tonight, it is on the screen there, SDRN.us, to get to the Self-Defense Radio Network. And then since we're normally live in multiple places, but we still have our show sponsor tonight. And so, you know what? Who did that? That's what it's supposed to be. Somebody had the wrong thing up in the corner tonight. Okay. Never mind me. Try to act like I'm a professional. You guys all know better. So tonight's show is brought to you by Decoding Firearms, an easy-to-read guide on general gun safety and use. Decoding Firearms is a comprehensive guide to aid new shooters and veterans alike to get up to speed on the safe use of guns. With over 115 illustrations and 266 pages of content, this book is very comprehensive. If you're interested in learning more about decoding firearms, you can visit johnpetrolino.com/decoding-firearms. Here, let's get that up on the screen. Decoding Firearms is available for sale on Amazon as a paperback or a full-color Kindle version. Be sure to pick up a few copies for your friends and family members that want to get into the shooting world. Decoding Firearms, get yours today. And you guys are used to seeing it right back there over my shoulder because that's usually where it lives, having read through it. It's really great, whether you are a seasoned shooter or just getting into it, or better yet, if you know somebody just getting into shooting, then that's a great book. And speaking of great books, we're going to get to another one here in just a second. But first, we're going to say hello to our guests and our panel members here. So first and foremost, and I just want to bring the guest out first because that way he gets to have the real estate up on the top side of the screen. So we've got Top Shot Season 4 winner Chris Cheng with us, who is you're becoming not a stranger here on a podcast, and I love that. So Chris, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you and the team tonight. And yeah, well, we're going to be talking about a lot of fun things.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of questions, and I know some of this stuff is some serious topics, and they really hit close to home, and that's the whole reason why you're here. But before we get into that real quick, I just want to bring in a couple of the usual suspects as well. So coming to us from an undisclosed location deep underground in a bunker, we've got Pat in a bunker.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on, John. Thanks for coming, Chris.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for being here, Pat. And then also coming to us from a disclosed location, the capital city of Nebraska, everybody's favorite tactical teacher, Travis P11.
Yes, I'm hiding somewhere deep in the suburbs. So, hey, how's it going, man? Yes, I appreciate the invite this evening. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to chat with Chris and just hang out with everybody. So thanks for the invite, man.
Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Cool.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So real quick here before we get started, let's kind of set the scene. And first and foremost, I guess we should give a little credit where credit is due. There may still be people out in the world who are not familiar with the Top Shot TV show when it was on. There may be some people out in the world who are not familiar with you, Chris. So just real quick, I'll give you a chance to introduce who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my name is Chris Cheng, and I'm History Channel's Top Shot Season 4 champion. And my story is I used to be a self-taught amateur shooter who ended up going on one of my favorite gun shows on TV. And at the time, I was working at Google, just having a great time here in Silicon Valley. And this TV show called Top Shot just piqued my interest, seeing Americans from all different walks of life coming onto this show to compete with a variety of weapons in some of these incredible challenges that are basically Disneyland for adults with guns. And I got to have this experience of a lifetime, and I trained really hard for 20 to 25 hours a week over a 5-month period to really burnish my skill set and understand the finer points of marksmanship. And that ultimately got me across the finish line in first place. And I won $100,000 and a pro shooting contract with Bass Pro Shops, and that changed my life forever. I'm both full-time in Silicon Valley, but also almost like full-time in the firearms industry too, helping represent our Second Amendment rights. Most recently, this year, I testified in the United States Congress in the Judiciary Senate Committee's opening hearing on gun control legislation that they were considering, and I spoke out very strongly against all of the gun control initiatives that our Congress was considering. And, I'd like to think that we haven't seen any of those gun control initiatives make any headway this year. So, and obviously it's not just me, but everybody here and Americans all across the country who are making it very clear and very well known that we don't support gun control initiatives that are unfairly discriminating against law-abiding gun owners and supporters of our Civil Amendment rights. So I guess I'll leave it at that. There's more to chat about, but that's me in a nutshell.
Heck yeah. All right, so let's get in some of the serious stuff here. For those of you who aren't super familiar with Chris, the reason why it was such a big deal to have Chris testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee was because he represents multiple circles of people or multiple communities. So he does represent all of us as gun owners and as Second Amendment advocates, but you also represent, of course, Asian Americans, and then you also represent the LGBTQ community. And so to have somebody who doesn't fit into the pigeonholes that the anti-gun and especially the anti-gun legislators want to put gun owners into. I mean, you're not an old white guy in a flannel shirt. And so the fact that we have such a diverse cross-section of America who all come together under one umbrella as gun owners really works to our advantage when it comes time to testify before places like the Senate or the state legislature or even local governing bodies, where the testimony can't be just instantly dismissed because you're just another cookie cutter, guy out there who fits in with all the rest of them. That being said, it takes a lot of courage to step out and be counted as a gun owner when you are part of some of these other communities. And you're not the only one who's been criticized or, I guess, outright all but physically attacked verbally. That's been a thing that's happened. A lot of you might remember, let me grab this here, especially if you are if you're on my Facebook page, the Sandhills Media page, you might remember seeing this image that I had posted when it was announced. Chris was on the cover of RECOIL Magazine wearing the distressed flag with the rainbow colors. And even on my page, we had a discussion. There were people that, when I made that post, and I also had posted shared, I guess I didn't post the video, but I shared a video someone else had posted of your testimony before the Senate. And I had said, that you're not just a gun owner, you're a gay man, you're an Asian American, you are a cool guy. But there was even people on my page that are like, well, why does it have to be about that he's gay? Or why does it have to be about that he's Asian? Well, it's not. Okay, it's not about that. But those aren't the reasons why I like you. I know that those are reasons why some people probably dislike you. I like you because you're cool. You've been nothing but sweet to me. Small podcast that we are, you've always been willing when you've got time to come and hang out with us. And I know that you treat everybody else that way too. The point is, though, that again, you've got a reach that I'll never have. You have friends and acquaintances and people who know who you are, who look up to you, that could care less about me being not yet old, but getting there, white guy like I am. So can you talk a little bit about some of the stuff, and we don't have to get into great detail because we've got some other stuff happening. A little bit,
Yeah.
about the stuff that's gone on with you in the other circles that you're part of.
Absolutely. And yeah, as always, thanks for having me on. And this topic around Asian American representation in the Second Amendment community is, for me, it's actually like a relatively new concept. When I came into the firearms industry 10 years ago, I didn't necessarily think it was noteworthy or necessary for me to mention that I'm Asian. It's sort of like, isn't it obvious? I mean, what more do I have to say? I have a last name Cheng and I look Asian. But and like even where I grew up in Southern California in Orange County where there were lots of Asians, I grew up in a place where I was aware of my ethnicity. And I think any person of color is always really aware of their ethnicity and sort of, when you're in a room or a space where either people don't look like you or on the other end of the spectrum when everyone does look like you, those are very different experiences.
Oh yeah.
But I get along with everybody, and on some level I've always been kind of colorblind, right? It's like I'm not gonna judge you based on the color of your skin. I will judge you though on the content of your character and how you treat yourself and other people. So 2 years ago when the pandemic started, we started to see a really huge spike in racist, violent attacks against Asian Pacific Americans here in the United States. And for the good part of 2020, it went unreported in terms of it never really hit the mainstream media, even though Asian Pacific Americans like me, we were watching this roll out in local media, and there were lots of APA communities online that were tracking these attacks and the deaths that were happening. And earlier this year, I just really had a very different change in my personal mindset around what does it mean for me to be Asian American. And to kind of answer that question and to kind of explain, what that means to me, to listeners here, I think the Asian American experience has always been one of never really feeling accepted or feeling like I fully belong in America. Or I guess it's put another way, it's always like I have to kind of explain or justify my Americanness. Right? It's not enough that I was born in California. It's not enough that I'm a native English speaker. I don't speak any Asian languages. I don't know karate. I don't know martial arts. Or it's like I am like, I think Asian Americans were constantly having to kind of express or explain that we're American just like every other American. Now, let me kind of caveat this a little bit, where on the other hand, what does it mean to be an American? Like, just sort of in the most general sense, right? It's like, hey, at its most basic, right? If you were born here, well, guess what, right? You get to be an American. But
Right.
I would then take this another step further and really push the question, but are you really an American who lives and promotes the values and ideals that this country was founded on? Because I think those are different types of Americans, right? There's Americans who just sort of American in title because whatever, you were born here and you didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But right, then there's the set of Americans who understand our Constitution, who appreciate it, who will promote and defend the civil rights and civil liberties that we have in the United States and what makes us unique. Because if you're an American and you don't understand what the value of the Second Amendment or the First Amendment or any of our other amendments, if you don't understand what those values are and what they mean to our country, what they mean to Americans like all of us here, then I would argue, maybe you're not really American, right? You're almost kind of, I don't know, American in name only, if you want to kind of call it that. So, I've been, encouraging Asian Americans to speak up, because kind of generally from a cultural perspective, Asian Americans are pretty quiet, right? It's much more of a don't speak, just do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let your actions speak louder than your words, right? Don't talk about things, just go do good things, right? And let your accomplishments, let your hard work, right, lead to an improvement in your life, your family, your community. And I guess I have really underestimated the impact that speaking out, right, has in every community, right?
Right.
I've been a gay rights advocate for 20 years, and I've only been a gun rights advocate for 10. So for me, I learned 20 years ago how important it is to speak out about LGBT rights, and for me, rights are rights, and
Mhm.
they're all hard, right? All of our civil rights are under attack on some level, and speaking up and speaking out, being visible, taking, arrows getting slung at you, right? People who don't appreciate freedom, people who don't want liberty, right? They're coming after all of us, and we have to be, stand tall and know what we're talking about, and also have the courage of our convictions in what we believe in.
Absolutely. Real quick, I just want to go back and clarify a little bit. Because earlier you had said that starting with the pandemic, there was a surge in violence toward Asian Americans, Pacific Islander Americans. I want to stress to anybody who is out there listening or watching right now that we're not talking about the snowflake, the typical California version of what violence means. We're talking about actual physical attacks, assaults, things like that. It's
And
not
homicides.
homicide, not somebody calling somebody a bad name. We're talking about people that are being their very lives are being threatened and or taken, right?
Yeah, and so right, there was a very specific moment for me where I just I was just enraged at one of these deadly attacks here in San Francisco, where I live. San Francisco is a very diverse place, supposedly, right, safe for people of color and minorities, but no. One of the worst and most disgusting, despicable attacks happened, just like 15 minutes away from where I live here in San Francisco.
Wow.
And a 74-year-old Thai American man who's elderly was walking around the block, and he got violently shoved to the ground by a 20-something-year-old punk who, pushed him down, didn't mug him, didn't do anything other than violently shove him to the ground, and this innocent 74-year-old man succumbed to his injuries a few days later. And look, it's one thing if you want to verbally insult or verbally attack anybody, and yes, bullying is terrible, and I definitely don't support bullying. But there is a very bright, clear line where when you physically attack, injure, or kill someone, right, that's just unacceptable. Like that is no society can be condoning physical violence and death, unjustified deaths, right, amongst innocent people. And right, to cap it all off, any society that has people attacking the elderly or the young, there's like a special place in hell for those kind of people. And so, for me, I mean, my whole world just, took a 180, and I said to myself, you know what? Yes, it's obvious I'm Asian, and yes, I want my actions to speak louder than my words, but I need to speak up. I need to speak up, and I need to speak out against this and make it very clear to criminals who think that Asian Pacific Americans are going to be easy targets, out in the streets of San Francisco or New York. The answer is no, right? And for those of us who decide to arm ourselves with firearms and use our natural right to defend ourselves, with a firearm, right? This is going to be a signal to criminals that, hey, you know what? You come pick on me, you're going to be in for a fight for your own life, and I'm not going to be an easy victim or an easy target.
Exactly right. And real quick, let's just go over a quick civics lesson for those who are maybe not as familiar with the concept. But because you are born and you breathe air, and especially because you are an American citizen, you have the right in this country to keep and bear. Let's go back farther than that. Just because you're born, you have certain rights, whether you say that God gave them to you or you just have them because you breathe air. It doesn't matter. You have the right to be alive. You have the right to stay alive. You have the right to do what is necessary to keep yourself alive against somebody else attacking you. And in this country, for now anyway, we still have the right to choose the method, the tool with which we use to keep ourselves alive if we get attacked. That doesn't mean we have the right to attack others. Obviously not. But if somebody tries to kill you, we do have the right to try and kill them back, right? That is something that not only do we have an inherent right because we're living beings, but we also have that written down, documented within our laws, within the document that gave us our system of government, the Constitution and the Second Amendment to it. And so that is why there are options for people, and this doesn't only apply to Asian Americans, Pacific Islander Americans, right? Because you're born, you have these rights. If you're Asian, you have these rights. If you're Black, you have these rights. If you're Native American, you have these rights. Everybody has these rights. Nobody doesn't have them. And so I want to stress that, because sometimes we start to cherry pick a little bit who we would rather have armed and who we wouldn't. After 9/11, there was a similar uprising again, or surge in attacks against Muslim Americans. Well, if you're an American, it doesn't matter whether you worship the God of Abraham or Allah, or if you don't worship, you still have these rights. You can own a firearm. You can arm yourself. So,
and yeah, I want to kind of build on what you're saying here.
We're leading there. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, and provide what I hope is some insightful perspective. In some minority communities, the concept of rights is kind of associated with white people, which is right. I mean, that's just like not true, right? It's like, right, just because you are not white doesn't mean that you don't have rights. Now,
Exactly.
Some people may feel that way, right? So feeling is one thing, then it's a different thing than what rights you actually have. But it's this mentality, right? That like this is, I think, the psyche and the attitude of some people of color who don't think that they have civil rights, right? That they don't feel empowered to participate in American democracy or the political system, right? That the system is not for them, it's for white people. And I think that is a negative stereotype that we need to break down, right? And the only way that we do that is rights are exercised by individuals, right? There's nobody that should be forcing you to exercise a right, right? Part of the whole kind of dynamic
Yes.
of rights is to have the choice to say yes or no, and not to have the government or your family or any entities, right, come down on you and say, I'm forcing you to do anything.
Right.
And
you
so,
hit
right, it's
that on
that
the
lack
head.
of empowerment, right? It's this lack of empowerment or sense or feeling that sort, you know, the system, right, if you will, it's only for white people, and like that is it's a incorrect, almost like racist stereotype against white people, if you will. Almost, it's like, it's just like not true.
Right.
And so that's a big part of why I advocate, you know, for increased discussion and advocacy of civil rights amongst, you know, not just the Asian community, but many other marginalized communities as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a few weeks ago, we had the discussion where I brought forth the idea that you hit it on the head. You have rights as an individual. You don't have the rights that you have because you're a man. You don't have the rights that you have because you're Asian. You don't have the rights that you have because you're gay. On the flip side, you don't lose any rights because you're a man. You don't lose any rights because you're Asian. You don't lose any rights because you're gay or anything else. Fill in the blank because you are this. You have the same rights that I have. I don't have any extra rights that you don't have.
But here's the rub.
Hold on.
So
Hold on.
okay, yeah.
In the Constitution and the way that this government is set up now, and yeah, we haven't always gotten it right, but it is that way today in the Constitution. But that doesn't mean that you get treated the same as I do. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight is there are still people who don't agree with what I just said or don't want to agree with it. So I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I wanted to get that part out too.
Yeah, so I mean, part of this, yes, is about, right, how the government or how individuals, right, treat people of color or you know, minorities. But you know, this country has a history of not bestowing. I mean, that's a big word, but right, not allowing the same amount of rights amongst
Yes.
our population, right? So let's go all the way back to the days of slavery, right? It's like the Black community. They were, you know, Americans, but they didn't have Second Amendment rights. If we go back into the days of Chinese Americans, right, building the railroads, that the government restricted Second Amendment rights for the Chinese. Go to World War II, where 120,000 Japanese Americans who were innocent and had done nothing were stripped of all of their civil rights, the Second Amendment and all their civil rights, and being thrown into internment camps. Right. And then on another topic, right, the LGBT community, we didn't have equal rights with respect to gay marriage up until 6 years ago. Right. So, you know, I guess the concept that I'm trying to build on here is that it's critically important for us to speak up and not just defend the freedoms and the rights that we have now, but to expand them. Right. That more freedom and more rights for more people is better for everyone. And now it doesn't mean that you need to agree with gay marriage necessarily. And like, look, I don't give a damn if you like care who I'm married to. Like, that's just like not your problem, not your business. Like, I'm gonna love who I want to love, and like you love who you want to love, like whatever, right? But when I think about, you know, gay rights and gun rights, right, these civil rights are in constant attack, right? And you know, it's sort of this pendulum, right, kind of swings, you know, from one end to the other. And on the gun rights side, constant assault weapons bans conversation, right? Magazine capacity restrictions, bump stock ban, right? The ghost guns, you know, this and that, right? If we stay silent, we're going to continue losing our civil rights. And so it really doesn't matter on some level, right? It doesn't matter what your background or your, you know, your ethnicity, your race, etc. It really doesn't matter, you know, what it is. But if you want to retain and hopefully expand our personal civil rights and freedoms, it's not enough to do the work. You've got to speak up. You've got to vote. You've got to get involved with whatever your favorite grassroots organization is for either gun rights or, you know, liberty, you know, freedom, There's lots of organizations and ways that we can all get involved. But
Yep.
sitting on your ass and playing video games, or enjoying drinks in the park, and not balancing that, right, by being an activist, right, getting involved. We need, this is a fight for everyone, and that's really the message that I want to continue to reinforce. But sometimes it is necessary to double click into certain demographics, right? When I'm speaking to Asian Americans about Second Amendment rights, it's a different conversation than when I'm speaking to gay people or trans people about their Second Amendment rights. So this is where it is important, and it is different to advocate for people's civil rights and civil liberties depending on your audience. And it's always a best practice of, when you're speaking to somebody, know your audience and understand how to best connect and how to best relate and resonate with that particular audience that you're speaking to.
Well, and it sure helps to, if you're not a part of the group that is your audience at the time, it sure helps to have experience with people who are part of that group, and some knowledge, some insight into what actually matters to the folks that you're talking to, right? Because we could take any group of people who aren't advocates right now and say, hey, our freedoms are being challenged and pretty soon we won't have any. And they're going to be like, whatever, they're not going to care. But if I find what matters to what either an individual or a group as a whole, I know that certain individuals within any group aren't always going to think like the rest. I get that. But for the most part, if we find a way, because if we can find a way to relate to whom we're speaking, and then show them why they should care, then there's a lot more chance that they're going to care, right? So yeah, I totally get how it could be a different conversation. I also would not be the right guy to have that conversation with the limited knowledge I have now within either the Asian community or the LGBTQ community. I don't have enough experience, and I don't obviously have any personal experience with how it feels to be you in either set, or just living in California. I don't know how it feels to be a Californian.
So here's where I love, right, like helping right on that front, right? So I think we all have our set of experiences, but then we lack certain experiences, right? Like, I'm never going to know what it's going to be like to be Black in America. Now, that said, right, it's like I can study and listen and learn from our Black brothers and sisters around what their experience is like. And so let me double click into the LGBT experience and kind of help provide an example. So even though if you're not gay, you can still understand this example that I'm about to go through.
Sure.
Now, back in the 1960s, the LGBT community had a terrible relationship with law enforcement. Here in San Francisco, there were these riots called the Compton Cafeteria riots. Compton Cafeteria was this late night diner, and then in New York City, there was the famous Stonewall riots. In the Stonewall Inn is it's basically a gay bar, and the Compton Cafeteria here in San Francisco was frequented by a lot of gay people. In both cities, SFPD and NYPD were indiscriminately beating and arresting gay people, and and injuring them, arresting them, prosecuting them, and so that turned into this decades long distrust between the LGBT and law enforcement community. So now if somebody in the gay community, if I'm talking to somebody in the gay community about gun rights, and if I know that, or if I kind of tell them about that background, or let's say there's a lot of gay people who do not trust law enforcement, because of that historical perspective.
Okay.
So then what I do is I then ask the question, all right, well, do you trust law enforcement? Right? And if the answer is no, then I say, okay, well, if you don't trust law enforcement, and if somebody is going to attack you, or if you're under threat, do you trust that the police are going to come and save you? Are you going to dial 911 and rely on law enforcement to show up magically and save you from this threat? And then often, right, then I start seeing the wheels turn, right? It's like, okay, right, they've literally just told me that they don't trust law enforcement, yet they've never really thought about, well, what are they going to do if they're under attack, right? If their house is being broken into. So then, right, I ask the next question. Okay, well, look, you just told me you don't trust law enforcement to show up and save you. So then realistically, what are your options here? Right? Your house is getting broken. And then I go into like, let's role play for a second. Your house is getting broken into. What are you going to do? Like scream at the top of your lungs? Okay, I mean, that can help. But what about having a weapon? A knife, a baseball bat, a hockey stick, and maybe a firearm. Like, isn't it reasonable that in the United States that many of us decide that using a firearm for home defense is a reasonable option? And I kind of build this argument, and a lot of times a lot of gay people kind of, maybe they don't end with fully like agreeing or appreciating that the Second Amendment is there per se, but at least it's like a moment of disruption, right? Kind of having someone like have that light bulb right turn on, and maybe it's not a full like off to on, but maybe it's like a dimmer switch. It's like, okay, it was off and now it's like slightly, like it's a little slightly brighter than it was before. And but that's an example of trying to relate to somebody's personal experience and connecting our civil rights with why it might be important to them. Obviously, it's important for us to say, why is the Second Amendment important to me? But if we're trying to either convince or help someone else understand, right, why a civil right is important to them, right, it's like we need to put ourselves in their shoes, understand their perspectives, ask the smart questions that help us uncover who they are and what's important to them, and then connect those dots based on that information and their answers.
Very cool. All right, I want to switch gears a little bit because we've got two very important things that we are running out of time to cover here before we have to let you go. But tell me about APAGOA.
Yeah, so for the past 10 years, during my time in the firearms industry and firearms community, I've been kind of waiting to see if there's been this moment where an Asian Pacific American gun group would be of any value, to the wider community. And during this increase in racist attacks against Asian Americans, we have seen unprecedented numbers of Asian Pacific Americans looking for information around how to learn to shoot, how to buy their first gun, how do they just sort of, where do you start, right? All those sort of basic beginner newbie questions. And, there's a lot of Asians who turn to other Asians first for information. And so APAGOA, which stands for Asian Pacific American Gun Owners Association, we are that go-to resource for APAs to come learn around, where do you go shoot? And our big focus here is safety, training, and education. We're apolitical. We don't want to get into the political parts. There's other fantastic organizations, right, that are fighting, the political fight. But APAGOA is the friendly kind of neighborhood, group that you go to if you want to see a friendly face that's going to welcome you. We are building a repository of training materials that are being translated into different Asian languages.
Oh, cool.
We think this is one key differentiator for how a gun rights group can do something that's never really been done before and help reduce that barrier to entry. And to kind of shine the light a little bit more on this, there's a lot of Asian Pacific Americans who either don't speak English or are not super fluent in English.
Mhm.
And regardless of what your perspective may be on that, for full transparency, I used to be of the perspective that, look, if you live in this country, you should speak English. But the reality is that, right, we have lots of immigrants who don't speak English fluently, and
Right.
that should not be a barrier to giving people, right, the information
Mhm.
to exercise their Second Amendment rights, right? You
Because-
should not have to speak English to use a firearm to defend yourself in the United States of America.
Right.
Just sort of
Speaking
to, like,
English
kind of
is not a qualification to have that right or exercise it.
So, and for me, right, that was a kind of a very eye-opening kind of, right, reorienting my mindset and perspective around what does it mean to be American, right? Like, yes, you should speak English, but if you really believe in civil rights, that English native English proficiency or fluency should not be a prerequisite, right, to defending yourself, defending your life with a firearm, or, right, you're exercising your First Amendment rights, or your right to vote, et cetera, et cetera. So we are, we at APAGOA are very excited for the potential impact that having firearms safety training and educational content translated into different languages, right, like Mandarin and Cantonese, Korean, Japanese, etc., that this could really move the needle in a meaningful way. So
That's
we're
awesome.
just getting started. We're only 6 months in, but I'm really excited for what the future has in store for APAGOA and for the wider gun community at large.
That's awesome. So is this something that so far is more localized to where you are in the Bay Area, or is this something that's kind of growing some wings and taken off across the country?
Yeah, we definitely have a national presence. California is definitely a stronghold for us, but Oregon, Washington, Texas, Ohio, New York, New Jersey are other states where we've been seeing a lot of activity, coming up from the APA community.
Awesome. Very cool.
Also, my AirPods are dying. Someone transitioned to my laptop monitor.
All right. So real quick, we've got I know hold on here. I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure where that's coming from. That might be, you might have to turn your speakers down, Chris. Wow.
How's that?
Now I can't hear you. Doggone it, AirPods.
Gosh darn it.
Man. Okay, so to fight that feedback, I'm going to mute you just for a second, Chris. And then, Richard, I know you had a question. I didn't see out in the comments if you had asked it. I do see Gunpowder Beauty has a question, so let's get to that real quick before we absolutely can't. But we will give Chris a little bit of time to get the wired headset out. I see what you're doing there. So we'll give you a chance to get that plugged in, and then you'll have to unmute yourself because I can only mute. I can't unmute from here once you're good to go. But Gunpowder wants... oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, we back in business?
Gunpowder Beauty wants to know, well, first of all, she says, sadly, the LGBT community has had some bad light about not being acceptable of pro-2A members. Have you experienced any backlash from that community, or has it been a positive experience for you? I've heard you talk about this before, but I'm not going to put words in your mouth.
Yeah, this is a great question. My experience as a gun owner in the LGBT community has been pretty negative, and not welcoming, not very well accepted, which is for me a huge paradox of what the LGBT community is supposed to stand for and what we're supposed to be about, which is diversity, inclusion, tolerance, acceptance. And, I hate to say that there are, a lot of gay people who they talk the talk, but they do not walk the walk. right? If you're going to talk about diversity, inclusion, tolerance, and acceptance, it can't just be about LGBT stuff, right? That has to be a personal, value that you live and breathe, whether you are in LGBT circles or, right, for me, right, I'm in that circle, and the gun, community, and the Asian community, and really whether, it's here in America or anywhere else that I just happen to be, right? This is, and it's like, when I'm traveling globally, right, around the world, it's not like I leave my personal and American values, back here in the United States. Like, no. This is where, yeah, the hypocrisy is very frustrating for me in the LGBT community. But, there have been tremendous, there's been tremendous progress, in the gay community, particularly over the past 5-6 years, where more gay people are understanding and appreciating the value of the Second Amendment. And as a marginalized community where people want me dead, just because I'm gay, right? There are unfortunately Americans who would love nothing more than to see gay people get murdered, injured, and ostracized. It's sad to say, like, I don't like to say it, but this is it's just the truth, right? There's just like there are people who want to hurt and kill women, right? Just because they're women. It's like it's a terrible, uncomfortable thing to say and think, but these are the realities that we face. And for the LGBT community, right? It's sort of back to kind of getting into the shoes of somebody else. Every gay person out there on some level knows what it's like to be hated, knows what it's like to have somebody want to hurt you, injure you, maybe, God forbid, kill you. And it goes back to begging that question. Okay, like, if somebody wants to hurt you or kill you, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You're just gonna call 911 and just like hope, right, the Superman, right, police officer is gonna save you. Like, that's usually not how this works. And so anyway, yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah, and for anybody out there watching or listening who doesn't know what it's like to be hated, become an advocate, an outspoken advocate for anything, and you'll soon learn what it feels like to be hated, just because you're willing to take a stand. And it's not always from the other side. Sometimes, it doesn't matter whether it's gun owners or who it is. Sometimes you get hated within, from your own people too, just because you say things differently than them. So, yeah, I think most of us who are probably, well, I think everybody on the panel probably, and most everybody listening can at least just imagine, even if you don't know what it's like to be gay in America, imagine the fact that there are people out there who don't see you as a true human being, and they don't see that your life is worth the same as everybody else's. Those people are out there. You're right. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, let me turn this inward, right, to gun owners. I get lots of arrows slung at me from the anti-gun side, and a lot of anti-gunners love saying things like, you know what, all these gun owners, they are supporting the mass murder of our kindergartners and other innocent, children. They should go kill themselves.
Right.
Or I hope a terrorist goes and kills them, kills gun owners who are innocent. We're not doing anything. We're not committing the crimes. We're not encouraging or advocating, right, for criminals or for terrorists to go shoot or kill anybody with guns. Yet, right, we're the ones, the innocent, like, law-abiding gun owners, we're the ones who are getting attacked by some of these irrational anti-gunners. And it's really illogical, right? It's like, I mean, when I sort of step outside of my body for a moment, and if I was like, a third-party observer watching, like, anti-gunners attacking gun rights advocates, it's like here are the anti-gunners, on one side, here are the pro-gun people, and then here are the criminals, right, like, off in their own little world committing all their crimes, because the anti-gunners are focused on us and not on the criminals, right? Who are
Right.
actually doing bad things with guns. It's insane.
Well, and it's even more ironic that they want to paint us as bloodthirsty murderers. And then they turn around and they want to poke this bear. I mean, their very actions undermine the fact that what they're saying, they undermine what they're saying, because if they were right about us, they'd be so afraid of us, they wouldn't dare speak out against us, right? The very fact that they feel comfortable enough to call us these things stems from the fact that they know that we're not the violent ones. They know that 99% or more of gun owners in America aren't criminals, aren't committing crimes with those firearms. I shouldn't even say gun owners. I should say gun possessors, because you can't legally own a firearm in America if you're a criminal. So if you are a criminal and you possess one, then you don't own the thing. You can only possess it. But yeah, I've never understood that irony of that. And time is fast running out. So real quick here, I don't know that we have any other questions that I've missed. Gunpowder Beauty does say she's sorry that you've had that experience. Her nephew's experiencing the same thing as a protective aunt. It breaks her heart that he's going through it. You know what? I think that is important enough. If you have any words of encouragement or advice to give on that topic, I think that we should take the time to hear those from you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like anyone who feels that they don't belong, and I think we all know what that feels like at some point in our life. And the solution to that is you got to find your people, right? And whatever that means, right? If it's other gay people, other gun owners, or just good people, right? Just go find good people, right? Who are willing to help you out, to be your friend, coach or mentor you, be a positive example of either who you want to be, or people who inspire you to be the best version of yourself, to give you the confidence and the courage to be your authentic self, whatever that means to you. Now, finding those people, right? Finding your tribe, if you will. I mean, that can be a lifelong pursuit, but don't be afraid. Don't give up hope. Especially if you're young and you have your whole life ahead of you, life gets better, right? And it gets better with the more experience you get, and also, right, the more friends and allies that you find along this long, wild, and strange journey of life, right, that we that we all are living in.
Right, exactly right. And Gunpowder, just let your nephew know that there are people who don't need to know him to love him. We're out here. We care about him. Let him know that he's not alone, and that everybody who isn't like him doesn't hate him, because I think that's a powerful message that not enough people get to hear, because sometimes it just seems like you're all alone and you're the only one dealing, and you're not. I don't care what you're dealing with, you're not. And anybody who wants to try and get all high and mighty and judgy, you know what? Go stuff it. Don't judge people just because they sin differently than you. You're no better. Ask God. He said so. Okay, so enough of that. I want to cover one more question before we lose you. And I know we're not going to have time to cover NFTs. So if you would, I'm going to briefly touch on it, since I know less than nothing, and I hadn't even heard of it before we were in Texas. So when you're done, if you've got time, can you just shoot me an email with a link to that auction so that I can at least
Absolutely.
share that? But real quick, I did find Richard had reposted his question for me. He wants to know a shot you have made that even as a seasoned shooter you were impressed with, like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. It could have been on Top Shot or any other time in your life.
Okay, got it. Yeah, let's see. That's a great question. I think what's funny is with shooting, some of the most difficult shots are the ones that when you're under pressure, right? Those are the hardest shots. And, you know, from a third party, right, watching you that may not understand the kind of pressure, right, that you're under, you know, it can be crushing sometimes. But one of the funnest shots that I'm thankful that I made was earlier this year. I was on a new TV show called The Go Big Show on TBS. Snoop Dogg was one of the hosts. And so I was doing a William Tell reenactment where I had an apple on top of a wood, like human-sized wood carve-out of Snoop Dogg with an apple on his head, and I had a 1911 pistol, and I'm shooting one-handed. I missed my first shot, and I was literally sweating bullets, and the sweat's getting in my eyes, like I can't see, you know, they're burning because of the sweat, and I'm just like, just praying, right, that I could summon all my energy and skills to, you know, hit this shot. And I nailed it. It was a huge relief. And so I was impressed that I was able to, right, push through my fear, push through the nervousness. You know, I'm being filmed. Snoop Dogg is, you know, sitting, you know, feet away from me watching this. I don't want to shoot Snoop in the face. Like, that was literally my worst nightmare. Like, forget about like hitting the apple. Like, just don't shoot Snoop in the face. Like, I wouldn't have been able to live that down.
No kidding. And I mean, honestly, it could have been Cody. I think most people would have much rather seen the cutout be Cody if you were going to shoot one of the judges' cutouts with a mist. No, that was such a cool show. We watched all of that, and none of it went the way I wanted to. Of course, you were my favorite pick from week one, but we all know that you didn't make it as far as I wanted you to make it, or that you probably did do. It didn't end how I wanted, but yeah, go check out the Go Big Show. All-star panel of judges, plus that host, Bert, looks like he's pretty cool.
Oh, Bert's awesome. Yeah, they're all fantastic.
Who's ever seen the clip where he's talking about being in Russia and getting nicknamed the Machine, that's the guy. And I don't know why. He takes his shirt off when he's on stage. All right, we've only got a couple of minutes. I want to give you a chance to say anything that you haven't yet said, and then where can people find you?
Yeah, so the last thing I want to talk about is this wild NFT digital art auction that I'm holding. It's a 5-day digital art auction. You might have heard about these NFTs. They stand for non-fungible token. And in short, it's this brand new way of digitally collecting art, collector's cards, different file formats. It's totally wild, but it's the future. And so I'm holding this joint NFT auction with RECOIL Magazine and the Firearms Policy Coalition, which is one of the largest Second Amendment civil rights organizations that we have. And if you're interested in learning more and bidding not just on the NFTs themselves, but there's amazing prize packages, which include an in-person fun shoot with me and the RECOIL staff, RECOIL swag, RECOIL physical and digital magazine subscriptions, and a physical autographed copy of RECOIL issue 56, which is the one that John's got there with me on the cover with this iconic distressed American flag in LGBT covers, and I'm holding a rifle. So the website is nft.recoilweb.com, and the auction ends this Sunday at noon Pacific. We've got a number of bidders, so the bidding war has commenced. It's super exciting. I encourage you to research NFTs. I know it's like this weird, crazy concept of digital rights ownership, but check it out. And then for anybody else, for anybody who's interested in seeing what else I'm involved in, I'm on social media, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Medium as well, where I've got some articles about NFTs, blockchain, and just general technology and their implication for the gun community. And my handle is at TopShotChris. And my website is topshotchris.com. There it is.
There it is. All right. So, Chris, I want to thank you so much for being so cool and hanging out with us. It was great to actually get to know you in person when we were in Texas, and just it was, I'm never going to forget our conversation when we were sitting together at supper that night. Very cool, and we hope you won't be a stranger. I can't wait for this friendship to grow even stronger over the years, but very, very thankful that you were here with us tonight. So we appreciate your time, and I know that, again, everybody's time is their most valuable commodity. So thank you for giving some of yourself and some of your time to us tonight. I know you have to get going real quick, even though Petrolino's book is our sponsor tonight. I do want to mention that RECOIL Magazine ain't even the first autograph I've ever gotten from Chris. So you wrote a book a couple years ago called Shoot to Win, and this is strikingly similar in nature to Decoding Firearms. It's also a great book that talks about fundamentals, and they're not the same book. You definitely need both of them. But anybody who is who's new to shooting or doesn't even understand why somebody would want to own a gun or get into shooting, then Shoot to Win is going to be another great resource where Chris goes and kind of you put yourself into that book, and I really appreciate that too, because it's not just the dry facts. You put some anecdotes and some personal experiences along with it, so it's cool to see, just like so many people that I'm getting to know. The picture of you that I had painted in my mind, and then getting to know the real you off camera, same guy. And I love that about you. You're never going to find a more genuine, a more real person out there than this guy right here that's with us tonight. So thanks, Chris. And I will let you get out of here. We appreciate you. We love you.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And really appreciate you guys spending time with me and talking about these really important issues, and and how they don't just impact some of us, they impact all of us. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate everyone's time, and thank you for having me, and thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Yep. And my beautiful bride says goodnight too.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Chris, for being on. Appreciate
Cheers.
it.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
All right, and Chris is gone. So earlier tonight, I had mentioned that I had a little bit of a rant prepared. I think I talked about that before we went live tonight. I talked about this a little bit, but screw you, Facebook. So here's what happened, and the more I think about it, the more this pisses me off. So we're gonna completely switch gears here. And we're going to talk a little bit about Facebook jail, because so it's my second stint in Facebook jail. I don't know how many times I have to be in Facebook jail to get the cool tattoo, but or if I need to get a teardrop for every time I've been put in Facebook jail, or how that works. But it's the second time, and here's how this works. You wake up in the morning to a little thing that's popped up in your Facebook notifications that says, you can't post. And in my case, it's 3 days. I've got about a day and a half, just under a day and a half left. So all the comments that I put out tonight on the YouTube live chat didn't go to Facebook. I got in trouble for bullying. I'm going to tell you what happened, and I'll probably end up putting some screenshots up. I don't know. We'll see. It may put me right back into jail, so I might not put those on Facebook. But here's what happened. There was a post that I had made about freedom means understanding that people have the right to do things you don't approve of. And there was a guy who, I don't know if he's trying to be a troll or if he's just trying to prove a point that isn't really there. I don't know what he's doing. He had already commented on a different post that about abortion, and so he commented on my post, free to do things that you don't approve of, and he's like what did he say, like getting an abortion or something like that, a safe legal abortion or something like that. He's like, are you a hypocrite? What's going on? And a couple people had commented before I saw his comment, and got to it, and anybody that wants to know why I think they're different, we can cover that. But But here's what has happened is I went on there, and here's the comment. I'm going to say it on YouTube because it's really not that bad, and it really doesn't even break my PG-13 rules. I commented, which of course it put his name up there, and I said, am I a hypocrite? Most likely. Are you a dumbass? Definitely. That's what I said. That's the post that got me into trouble. And now I can understand how calling names might hurt somebody's feelings. I don't know if he turned me in or not, because when my beautiful bride put a post up earlier today on the Facebook page, because as an admin, she can post there. I just can't. I can't post on my personal page or any page I'm an admin on. That's how that works. I can't even like the comments or like the posts. I feel like Joe, what's his name? Joe Dawson on Highlander. Is that his name? He can watch, he can observe, but he can never interfere. That's kind of how I've been lately on Facebook. But I got to thinking about this. I didn't go seek him out. I didn't go to his page. I didn't send him a personal message. I commented on a post that I made on my page. If you don't like the way that I talk, including the way that I talk to you, then unfollow my page. Go away. I don't care. It's fine. I get it. Not everybody likes me. That's cool. But if I say you're a dumbass, you're a dumbass. It's my page. I can call people a dumbass on that page. That's the way it works, Facebook. So I don't know. It's just really making me mad the more I think about it, that something like that goes against the community standards for bullying. Okay. Bullying is way different than saying you're a dumbass. So if that's all it takes, then so be it. I guess I've got a lot more jail time probably ahead of me. 3 arbitrary days. I mean, whatever. I get people saying, oh, I'm in for 30 days at a time. Okay, cool. Whatever. But that's my rant for the night. Screw you, Facebook. But I'm not leaving. And a lot of people are like, well, why do you still on Facebook? It's such a cesspool. It's just a dumpster fire or whatever they want to call it. Because I've got 10,000 followers on Facebook, and I've got not even right at 2,000 people here on YouTube, because you guys don't share this page near enough, and it's all your fault, and I'm the victim here. And that's probably not true. But the thing is,
bully.
Don't be a dumbass. But that's just it. I stay
I will
here
be if I want to. Okay.
Okay, you have the right to be a dumbass, even if I don't approve of it.
Thanks, bro.
I recognize the fact that you have that right, and I don't even have to like it. But here's the thing: is I stay on Facebook because of the reach, because there's 10,000 people who have followed the page. I'm shadow banned. In fact, Facebook didn't even hide that. They tell me that all the time, that my reach has been diminished. It's because of the stuff that I say, that true stuff hurts, and sometimes people can't handle it. So you can't handle the truth, and so whatever. There's snowflakes out there, and like I said, I don't even know if this guy turned me in or if it just flagged because I called him a name. I don't know. It's weird how some people can call people names and that's fine, and then other people call people names that aren't as bad, and that's not fine. And I'd really like to meet the person that gets to decide what's what. But anyway, how are you guys doing?
John, it isn't going to matter much, because in a couple days, Facebook is going to change its name, and everything about Facebook will have been forgotten. So,
right? Yeah,
it's going to turn into Horizon Worlds or whatever the hell it's going to call itself.
Have they figured out yet what it's going to be called? Have they announced it?
I'm not sure what the name is. I'm
sure they've figured it out a long time
at
ago.
this point. So, yeah.
Matthew Thomas, spell it DeMoss next time. Nope, dumbass. DUMBASS, dumbass. That's what I said. That's what I'm going to keep saying. It was fine for what's his name, Red Foreman on that 70s show. Network censors let that one go, but all of a sudden it's bullying when I say it to somebody who is in my house. Yeah, I don't think so.
They'll probably be called commie pages here in a little bit, I'm guessing. But that's
Comrade book.
Yeah, the Comrade book. Just
Not
that.
English. Nice.
There you go.
Kind of along the same lines on the Facebook deal, my sister-in-law got a strike for one of the stupidest things I have probably ever seen, for chicken imprinted leggings.
What? So
Black leggings,
chicken leggings,
chicken legs on it.
like
Printed on,
little chickens, or like
yes.
they actually look like the legs
Yes,
of,
and-
like they're
yes,
Gizzard
and
Gary's legs.
yes, exactly. Exactly. I was like, what? How do you get a strike for that? And I'm sure my brother in the comments will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was pretty much the whole thing.
So was she wearing them or selling them, or
No.
just there's a picture of leggings that look like chicken legs?
Yeah, and they were black and just had the spindly chicken legs going from the top all the way down.
Was it her own photo? Her picture?
Yeah.
She used a copyrighted photo.
Richard says
Yes,
it was from 2 years ago.
Yeah, and it was from 2 years ago.
So there is no
forgot about
statute
that.
of limitations on the Comrade book.
No, there is no statute of limitations. They can go back from when they started.
Well, surely Facebook's got a wonderful customer service number you can call and get any, arrangements. Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yes.
Jesse's out there speaking truth. The anus is the first to develop in a fetus, and unfortunately, so many never had the capability of becoming anything more than that. Can you say what word? Fetus? Yes, you can say fetus. It's okay.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Wow. So I'm curious about the chicken leggings now, because I think if anybody knows where to buy these, we should probably get a pair for Gizzard Gary, because he needs those for Christmas. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Oh, Matthew Thomas says because they were black. I don't think that black is offensive. I think it's white is what's offensive. If they were white with the chicken legs, I could understand the offense that was taken, because white is offensive. I understand.
Yeah.
So
Color white in general is just,
right.
nobody likes it anymore. So
Plus, it's after Labor Day, so you can't even wear that. Is that what it was? Was it maybe a fashion faux pas? I don't know. That's craziness. Yeah, good times. All right. Well, that's kind of all I really wanted to get off my chest, and just make sure that maybe I'm not being unreasonable here. If I am, so be it. I'm unreasonable, but I just think it's completely just asinine that, which is not a bad word. Just saying, that using the word dumbass can get you thrown into Facebook jail. So we're looking about another day and 8 hours or so. So by what is that, Saturday morning, I'll be able to post again. What I was mostly concerned about, which doesn't seem to be a problem, is that this wasn't going to go out live on Facebook, but it seems like it did. I did see several people had thumbed up the video feed. Matt's out there, James, Owen, Gary, Scotty, Sean. I see all you guys out there. And there's people watching on Facebook. So hopefully that's cool. Blitz keeps putting up super stickers, and I'm not even signed in on the actual YouTube spot hold on, mute that. There were super stickers, and I have to come over here to see what they were.
Wait, you're giving away stickers?
No.
I'm just messing with you.
Anybody? Oh, I see. So there's one, a 99-cent super sticker that says 100, and then there's another one with a hot dog for $1.49 super sticker. Cool.
Hot dog sandwich.
What? Is that like a super chat? Does that 248 then go into our super chat fund? I don't know how that works. I've never seen a super sticker before.
Must be like emojis they can buy. They get posted or something, and
that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just go see him at work. He'll give you one. That's true. But I'm not going to tell you guys where I work. We don't need that kind of publicity for work. I don't really. don't think we need to. But yeah, we'll figure something out. Anybody that wants a sticker, hit me up, email me, or reach out on Facebook, and we'll see what we can do for some postage. If you'll cover postage, I can send out some stickers. I've got a few that I made up to take with me down to Dallas, and I've still got some leftovers. So, and I've got the new ones now, not just the older. These are the old ones, but now I've got, where'd they go?
Legacy, bro. Legacy, not old. It's legacy.
I've got, okay, right, the Legacy ones.
Yeah, there you go.
But now I've got the newer logo all done up. Same basic sticker, same publisher, Gillette Printing here in Norfolk, Nebraska, with the new logo. But we also did them in the black and white, which I think really look cool. So yeah, if anybody wants some stickers, get in touch with me and we'll figure out how to get you some. Go be a Patreon patron, and I'll give you a black and white and a color sticker. So patreon.com/ I think it's still under Sandhills Shooter. I don't even know what it's under anymore. Some of these places wouldn't let me change the name. So now I have to go look and see what it's under. Yeah, it still is. Still under Sandhills Shooter. Let me copy that. We'll just put that over here. And it won't put it on Facebook, but it'll put it up on the YouTube side. There we go. Oh, it did let me change it. Patreon.com/Sandhills Media. Good deal. Okay, so you can go be a patron, and then I will definitely get stickers out to you. So, or more, depending on the level that you become a patron. All right, I think. Thanks, Blitz. There we go. I don't really have anything else that we need to cover, I don't think, and we're running out of time. So, you guys have anything that I'm forgetting besides we'll get to the list here in a minute? We didn't do the list last week. I completely forgot. So we're going to make sure we get it this time.
I'll put in a shameless plug for the podcast. About the time, John, that you get back on Facebook, I'll be hosting another episode of Caliber Corner.
Yeah, you will.
Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Check it out on my YouTube channel, Travis B11.
Right. Where else can people find you? You're on YouTube mostly.
Let's see. YouTube, GunTube, Gunstreamer, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I got links for all that in description box of my video. Cool. So I'm not on Subscribestar. I don't think I'm on any of their platforms. Oh, and also on Odyssey right now too. Sweet. Odyssey is pretty cool. It's a good place to get hosted over there. They import all your videos and they automatically bring them over for you. And they don't really restrict content, not that I've seen so far.
Why don't you, when you get a minute, why don't you email me that link and I'll see if I can get over there too.
Yeah, cool.
One of the guys that I met down in Dallas at AmCon was Jared from Full 30. So I need to make sure that we can import everything over to Full 30. I need to get that profile built. I've got it set up. I just there's nothing on there yet, and I need to get it kind of fine-tuned and need to take the time to do it. But this weekend won't be it because we've got to go out of town for a wedding. So real quick here, Travis gave his shameless plugs. Pat, let's go ahead and find out where people can find you.
They can find me on YouTube at Pat Hersh, just the way it sounds.
It's all lowercase, and it's HERSH.
Yes, HERSH. And hopefully once things calm down, hopefully get the 500 round review on both the guns, on the Ruger Max 9 and the Smith & Wesson Plus 9 done up, and give the review on that. And other than that, I was going to say something, kind of go off of what Chris said earlier about the guns and everything. If you own a fire extinguisher, and I heard this today, why wouldn't you own a firearm? Because if you have a fire extinguisher to put out a fire in your house, why wouldn't you have a gun to protect yourself? Mm-hmm. Especially in today's climate with cops not wanting to get the shot and cops leaving their departments and stuff. And in some parts of the United States, it's up to 3 hours before they'll even respond to a call now.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in Chicago this weekend. I know that the police union and the mayor are fighting right now because the vaccine mandate, the police union is telling people to stay home, call in sick, whatever. It's not an active strike to my knowledge, but the mayor has come out and said, well, you can't strike. It's in the contracts. It's one of the things that the police union cannot do is organize a strike in Chicago. But whether it's another sick out like the airline pilots or whatever, there's probably going to be a lot fewer cops on patrol in Chicago. And so we all know how safe Chicago is. I can't see this, what could possibly go wrong, right, with fewer police in Chicago, because it's such a safe place and such a great place already, and nothing bad ever happens there. So it's probably going to be fine. This is fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
We're all fine here. How are you?
It's all good here. Nothing to see. Nothing to
Yeah,
see.
exactly.
Nothing to see here.
And yeah, Blitz lives in Illinois, and he says it's a great time to live in Illinois. I didn't know that. Blitz says that the surrounding counties told Lori, which is Mayor Lori Lightfoot, or Beetlejuice, if you ever watched Howard Stern.
The resemblance is striking.
People think it has something to do, right? People think it has something to do with the shrunken head guy on the movie Beetlejuice. No, watch Howard Stern. You'll understand. But anyway, they told Lightfoot to F off, and they won't send their officers in from other counties. So Cook County, you're on your own. Yeah, what could possibly go wrong? If you're in the Chicago area, this might be a time to go visit friends or family, or just move outside of that war zone. I mean, beautiful city. So, all right, we're going to wrap things up. We do have the list. It's not very long. We used to have a list like 30 names long back on Tuesdays at 9, and now it's Thursdays at 8. And I don't know if it's because everybody's watching other stuff, if it's because is Law and Order on this time of night, I don't know. But it's a short list, but hopefully you guys will help me grow it. Gunpowder Beauty is out there, Pat Hersh out there and in here, Vanessa Kitty, Richard Hirsch, G23, Mike, Tacos and French Fries, Clint Taurus, still love your name, Matthew Thomas, Vash Matrix, and of course my beautiful bride Sandhills Sweetheart is out there holding it down in the chat. She's also in the producer's chair where she belongs, and I'm not saying that like she's a woman, she belongs in the kitchen. I'm saying that this thing goes so much smoother when she is in the producer's chair. So very, very happy to have her back with us, and not just watching on her phone from bed so that she can fall asleep as soon as we sign off. So all right, with that, I think we're going to wrap things up. Thanks everybody. Go check out APAGOA.org if you can't remember the letters. Asian Pacific American Gun Owners Association. APAGOA.org. Go check out that NFT auction as well. And here's the thing. I think I've got this figured out. And I was going to say this, but we ran out of time before Chris left. But it used to be that everybody had their music on, a vinyl record or 8-track cassette CD, right? We've all gone through the physical things that had music. And then MP3 came out, and we had digital music, and you could buy a song that's the digital form, and there's nothing actually that you can touch, but you can still play the song anytime you want. Now we've got that with movies. Well, now we're going to get that with like baseball cards, with I don't know what else, comic books. I know that some of it's in short video clip form, but that's what NFTs are. It's kind of like the MP3 of the collectible world or the art world. You can have an NFT of a famous work of art and maybe not have to spend as much as a print to hang on your wall. Or maybe, I don't know, when Chris was talking about those in Dallas, I mean, some of those things are going for thousands or millions of dollars. So I don't really know. I don't understand NFTs yet, but it's something that's really cool. The best part is you don't have to know what it's all about to be willing to go help support FPC and some of these other places. So go check that out. And if you're not a member of one of our nationwide gun owners associations or 2A groups, not that one that doesn't do anything, don't worry about them, or do, I don't care, but FPC, GOA, and SAF, Firearms Policy Coalition, the Gun Owners of America, and Second Amendment Foundation. Those are 3 great ones that actually spend money on lawsuits and try to get bad laws overturned or good laws pushed through the best they can. But here's what's more important. If there's a local version, like here in Nebraska Firearms Owners Association, whatever it is in your state, then, Arizona Citizens Defense League, Virginia Citizens Defense League, the New Jersey Firearms, I can't even keep it all straight, Florida Carry, any of those, if you've got one locally, go join it. Help out. See what you can do. We're all in this together, and we cannot do this without you. But what are we seeing in the news when it comes to vaccine mandates or anything else? If people are willing to say, I've had enough, not one more inch, I'm not budging, and we all stand up together, it's just like the bug's life, right? If once the ants figure out that they outnumber us, then our life of ease is over. Well, guess what, ants? We outnumber them. They work for us. Let's act like it. All right, with that, we're going to sign it out. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We love you. God bless you. Thanks to Chris Cheng for being here. Thanks to Travis and Pat and Sandhills Sweetheart. On behalf of all of us, have a great night. God bless you. Get off my lawn.